I think about leadership a lot. As a woman, I know that my leadership style is going to look different from men. And honestly, I've had no model for what a woman in pastoral ministry should look like. I didn't grow up with seeing any of that. So I think a lot about how I'm received as a woman in ministry, as an outsider, and also as someone who is a direct communicator. I worry that my intentions, what I'm trying to say to you, isn't always conveyed through layers of maybe your experience. And so I think about that a lot. Now, I didn't grow up with models for what a woman in ministry would look like, but I have seen the previous generation of women pastors inhabiting a bit of a hardness. It's their defense and their protectiveness because they have plenty of experiences where folks meet them and hear that they're a pastor and they're met with anger or outrage or even disgust. So I know that that is in people, and I think about that. So if you are thinking that maybe I'm perseverating on this too much, just ask any other woman in ministry. And I guarantee you that they're also thinking about what it means to be a leader all the time. I think about this not only because I haven't had examples of women in ministry in my life, but also because so many clergy have been credibly accused of abuse of their role and of abuse of their power. Now we have three examples of that that come to my mind immediately. The first one is John Howard Yoder, beloved Mennonite ethicist and theologian coming from the Mennonite Seminary in Elkhart, Indiana. His theology was a gateway to abuse women under his tutelage. It also became a way for other Mennonite clergy to feel that they had permission to treat women in the same way. More recent examples would be John Vanier from the L'Arche community. This is a community that he created where folks with intellectual or physical limitations were paired with other folks, and they built a community together. It's a beautiful model. But upon his death recently, this last year, it was revealed that he was abusing women volunteers. In the last month, David Haas, beloved choral musician and hymn writer, he wrote some of my favorite songs in our hymnals. I Will Come to You in the Silence, Peace Before You, and My Soul is Filled with Joy. And he used his talent and his name to woo young, impressionable women into inappropriate relationship with him. So I know that there are these bad models out there for what it means to be a leader in ministry. Because I haven't had a model for what this should look like, and because some of the models that I've seen and I've experienced personally have been pretty destructive, I've been really committed to leading out of my own vulnerability. I believe that the things that make me human, the things that make me not perfect, are also the things that will make me a good leader. Now, this has nothing to do with the Pauline text that we heard this morning, although I do wonder about that with Paul. Did Paul see bad leadership in the past and feel called in not only his experiences, but also his understanding of Christ to just kind of do the opposite, to operate out of his own weakness, out of his own vulnerability, out of his own thorn in his side? So from my vulnerability, I'm going to be very upfront and honest and say when things are hard for me. And I don't say, that things are hard for me because I want you to feel sorry for me. Because if you know me, you know that I'll be really upset if you feel sorry for me or you're worried about me. I say it because I want to give you permission to also say that you're struggling and that you're having a hard time. I want my leadership model to be one that opens us up to not hide our vulnerabilities, but to share them openly. So this pandemic has been an interesting experience for me around my own leadership. The first week of the pandemic, I called a good friend of mine and I said, he's also a pastor, and I said, I was made for this moment. I am just like ready to conquer this pandemic right here in my own little world. So I rearranged my office. I organized everything. I set up Zoom calls. I, just reframed everything. And then the next week, after all of that energy and excitement about tackling this thing, the next week I was in bed. I was sleeping too much. I wasn't eating good food. I was watching too much Netflix. I was hiding. And I had this realization that I wasn't okay. That, the week before I felt like I was made for this moment. And now I just felt like I don't know how to lead. I don't know how to be a pastor. I don't know how to be human in this moment where I am not connected to anyone but my immediate family. And I love them very much. And we've been having a good time together, but I felt isolated. So I went on social media and I said, I'm not okay. I said, this has been a hard time for me. And I also acknowledge that when I say that as a pastor, people hear that differently. There's an expectation that I'm supposed to be perfect. Maybe not perfect. Maybe there's an expectation that I should be better than others. And this pandemic for me has been an opportunity to shatter that myth that we have, that even I have, about what pastors are supposed to be like. That I am a human and that I am operating from my own vulnerabilities. I have my own thorn in my flesh. I have those things that make me not an ideal leader, not a perfect leader, not a perfect person. And from that space, I lead. And my hope in this leadership style, which I'm coming up with, my hope in this leadership style is that we all can feel the opportunity to be more fully human, to be the people that God created us to be, in all of our foibles and imperfections and even the stuff we don't like to talk about. That if we can bring our full human selves to the table, to God and to each other, that's when we can build the beloved community together. So in this pandemic, I have not been okay. It's been hard, and I haven't known how to lead. But it also feels really liberating to say that all to you, that I don't know what I'm doing. Most days I get up and I'm just doing the best I can. And I know that that's the same for you in whatever role you're in. Whether you're a teacher or you're staying at home full time with your kids, or you're trying to support your kids as they parent from a distance, or you're a medical professional, all these things. This is a brave new world that we're in. And it feels really liberating to just say, I'm not okay. I don't know what I'm doing. And I know you don't either. And so we can bring that into our work and our life together, and bring down those walls that we've had, where we try to say that we're in better shape than we really are.